Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott Duncan, and I welcome you all here today to the beautiful Bandoola estate here in the stables, to pay respects and to farewell a very, very special lady to you all, and that is Unee Whiteman. The world has changed, and it has changed forever. But one thing that hasn't changed is your love for Unee, and of course for the love that we all need to give each other in these days and these times. Funerals these days have changed a little bit too, and are a little bit different than normal. But what I can say is that this space here today is for you all. It's here for you to be able to honour your Unee, your mum, your grandmother, your mama, your friend. But just know that today is all for you as well. And quite often people don't know what to do, what is right, what is wrong at a funeral these days. But what I can do is I can give you permission today to applaud, to cry, to pray, laugh, or just be present. But just know that everything is okay today. Shortly we'll be hearing some stories and the life of Unee as well. But surely we'll also be offering some space for everybody to come up to the front to pay their respects by tying a ribbon around the handles of this beautiful, beautiful coffin that has been chosen by the family, and for your opportunity to say your goodbyes. And at the end of the service, before we do bring Unee to the hearse, we ask that everybody to make their way back outside to do a guard of honour as we farewell Unee on her last journey on this planet. Then following the service, we invite everybody to come back in behind the curtains, for everybody to stay for some light refreshments, to tell some more stories. But obviously during the COVID times, we must always remain seated at all times throughout the afternoon. But I extend my deepest sympathy to you all, and especially to Unee's daughter Sue, who has, I'm going to say single-handedly, but I know also that you have a lot of people who have helped you pull this together today. But also our sympathy goes to Unee's granddaughters, Brianna and Kayla, and of course, fiance Brandon. And I know there's a lot more people that have helped today as well. So thank you. But Sue, it has been an honour to be able to do this with you. I said to you before, the amount of love that you have put into this ceremony is just absolutely beautiful. But I'd also like to welcome into the space Unee's brothers and sisters, Bruce, Laurie, Ken and Frida, who are no longer with us today. But we do welcome them here. And we just would like to pass on and let them know that the love is for everybody here today. As you all entered, the family candle was lit and everybody was asked to light a candle. But this was all about just having a moment as you enter into the room to be able to honour Unee in your own unique way, and also to potentially remember people that have passed in your own life as well. But we all come believing that all human life is valuable, and that Unee's life was and will be remembered today, was valuable and treasured to you all. Her life was lived in its uniqueness with you all 100 years of it. And has now passed into the ultimate community of human existence with all of its embracing diversity and love. But none of us know the whole truth about what lies beyond death. All we know is the life of Unee, whom you've all loved in a multitude of ways. And today you face one of the most difficult moments, where we suffer in the loss and the death of Unee, and to say our goodbyes. But just by being here gives us comfort, and gives us comfort to everybody else, that with the love, the support, and all the energy in the room, we'll continue. But I'd like to now call upon Colin, who's going to do a reading on behalf of the family today.
I'm standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until, at length, she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. Then someone at my side says, "There, she is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight, that is all. She is just as large in mast and hull and spar as she was when she left my side. And she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at the moment when someone at my side says, "There, she is gone," there are other eyes watching her coming, and other voices ready to take up the glad shout, "Here she comes!" And that is dying.
Thank you, Colin. In a moment, we'll be coming to the heart and soul of the ceremony, where we'll be hearing some stories and some tributes about the life of Unee. But before we get into the tributes, the family has asked me to deliver the eulogy on behalf of them today. We are fortunate here today because Unee was the last of her generation of the Davison family, and to have her memories preserved not only in our hearts, but also in writing. And for this, we can thank Barbara Taylor, who would visit Unee regularly on a Thursday evening at Mount Emmard Retirement Village, asking her questions about her life and placing Unee's recollections into a special book. And I've seen that book. Unee began her life and life's journey in 1919 at number 27 Juliet Street, Marrickville in Sydney. Like her siblings, Bruce, Laurie, Freda, Ken, they were all born, and she was born at home and remained there until she married in 1942. She was the younger daughter of William Henry, who sailed from Liverpool in the late 1800s via Canada, and Eva Tant, who came from fine Scottish stock and whose Scottish, slightly formidable mother lived next door. Ironically, as the years passed, Unee became very interested in her Gaelic ancestry and visited Scotland on 2 separate occasions. In the 1920s, Marrickville, or Stanmore as it was known then, was much like a small village where everybody knew each other, and Unee's home life was a very happy one, with an open door policy on the weekend for friends to visit and stay. Now, having no car meant that places like the Botanical Gardens or the beach were usually reached on foot or by tram or train. And as a teenager, Unee had 2 great loves, Alan Taylor, the boy next door, and to her father's delight, the piano. Well, her parents approved only of one of those great loves, and clearly it wasn't Alan. Unee regularly played at Inner Stedfords, and her love for the classical music remained for her entire life. Giving up playing the piano was one of Unee's greatest regrets, so today the beautiful piano pieces that you'll be hearing during this service have been chosen in her honour. a paediatric nurse and a paediatric nursing career after finishing school at Stanmore High was what Unee had hoped for. However, her severe and chronic I'm going to say this wrong. Dermatitis, sorry, that's what I was looking at, sorry. Prevented her from fulfilling this dream. And instead she took a job at Farmer's department store in the city, blending tobacco for the soldiers who would wander about town looking for pretty girls to impress. Now, one of those soldiers just happened to be Paul from Westville, Cowra, whom she later married and who would regularly visit the store to purchase tobacco despite not being a smoker. Now, after Unee and Paul were married, they lived in Unee's family home until they saved enough money to purchase their own above the beautiful Chinaman's Beach in Mossman. Unee living at her home at 21 Hopeton Avenue was undeniably the happiest time of her life, raising both her children there and remaining until 1993, when Paul sadly passed away from leukemia. They had planned to return to Europe and Scotland later that year, so Unee bravely embarked on a solo journey overseas for 2 months to all the places that they would have visited together. On her return, she moved next door to her son Ken at Balmoral Beach and was again very contented until he too passed away with the same insidious disease 10 years ago. At 90 years of age, Unee packed up her home and moved into Mount Emiard Retirement Village to be closer to her daughter Sue, and this was another wonderful era in Unee's life. And it was only in March of this year that she spent her final days in the care of the Bowral Nursing Home, where she passed away last Friday, 2 weeks short of her 101st birthday. I would now like to welcome the speakers up here in a moment. And first up, I'd like to welcome Unee's daughter Sue, and they'll be followed by her granddaughters Brianna and Kaylin.
Thank you, Scott. That was lovely. Good afternoon, everybody. I know there's probably no need to introduce myself, but just in case, I'm Unee's daughter Sue, and today that fact makes me extremely proud. I'd like to sincerely thank all of you, family members and friends, for joining me here today to farewell my beautiful mum. Mum, well, it's been a strange week, and one that over the years I've often contemplated and wondered how it would be. And I have to admit that as the years crept on and Mum remained in such good health and was active, I actually began to think that perhaps she had found the answer to immortality and that maybe she would go on forever. That was certainly her intention. Mum was never one for attending funerals, and I expect she hoped to avoid this one. But the day has finally come when we can celebrate the wonderful life that she enjoyed for so long, the friends she made along the way, and the lovely memories that she has left for all of us. Mum was the real deal. Her generosity and kindness knew no boundaries, and her compassion towards others was something that came naturally to her. It took many years for me to realise, if not recognise, that beneath my mother's quiet and gentle exterior, there lay a person of real strength and determination. I really believe that these were the qualities instrumental in my mother living right up until 2 weeks before her 101st birthday. And I'm also sure that some of you here inside this room know exactly what I mean when I say she could be quite determined and even a bit tricky. It occurred to me recently, and not without irony, that my mother was not only born in but died during 2 world pandemics, neither of which she had any real understanding, which may have been a good thing. As a small child growing up, Mum brought magic into my life. She taught me where to look for fairies in the garden at night, how to listen for the bells of the reindeer on Christmas Eve, and how to decide which rabbit on the side of the road was more likely to be the Easter Bunny. She was full of fun and fantasy, and I adored her. She also taught me the true value of glitter. During my teenage high school years, according to Mum, I gave her a good run for her money. But every week, she still bought an enormous jar of coffee and a packet of assorted biscuits for my friends and I to share in my darkened, incense-filled bedroom after school, and occasionally during. And every so often, she would stop outside the door and she would say, "I hope you girls aren't smoking in there." Of course we weren't. She could be surprisingly patient at times. Something that brought great joy to Mum was the ocean. She couldn't swim very well, but she was right at home gazing out over the water at Chinaman's Beach from her sun veranda. For the past few years, she's managed to do just this on our family holidays to the south coast, where we've rented a beach house for exactly this purpose. Mum could enjoy the sound of the waves and watch the dogs walking along the sand, or running along the sand. But when February of this year arrived, things were beginning to change quickly, and Mum's memory and understanding was no longer what it used to be. And despite her overwhelming reluctance to use it, Mum's walking frame needed to be her constant companion if she was to avoid a fall. From March onward this year, Mum spent quite a lot of time away from Mount Amard, and at Mount Amard, the care and the support that she was given by all the staff, who became her extended family, went above and beyond what anyone could expect. This level of care extended to the delightful girls from the Australian Unity Home Care, who made sure that every day Mum's cottage always looked beautiful, and that she did too, and that there was always something delicious waiting for her in the fridge. Mum's wonderful doctor, Grant Lewis, ensured that at all times the very best of care was given to Mum, and that is certainly what she received at Barrel House Nursing Home during the past 6 months before she passed very peacefully away last Friday. The love and the compassion shown to Mum during her time there was outstanding, and I will be forever grateful to them, as I will to everyone who cared for her along her journey. My dear friend Sherry reminded me this week of how my mum would hang a white towel from the veranda window overlooking the beach to signal that it was time for us to go home. Well, last week that towel must have been hung out for you, Mum. You lived the best life and you were loved by so many, especially me. Your stories are our memories and they will always be with us. But I think there's just one thing that you may have forgotten to take. So I'll just check. Excuse me. I think it's deliberate, but it seems to be right here. But Mum, hopefully wherever you are, you will no longer need it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bree, Unee's youngest granddaughter. Unee, or Mama as we called her, was such a beautiful grandmother to have. She was always so lovely and understanding. Even when she was cross, I don't think I'd ever heard her raise her voice. She never offered anything never offered anything to me other than warm empathy and understanding. No matter where I was in life, Mama was always waiting for me to tell her of my adventures or to tell me of hers. A woman well-travelled, even so, well into her late years, who sparked my own drive to explore the world around me through her experiences. She had a deeper sense of who I was before I ever did. My favourite conversations with her were ones that we'd share of how the city is always changing and just how different it was from when she had travelled the same path that I did in a very different era. This woman had lived the most incredible life and shaped me to carry her great appreciation for the beauty in history. As a child, I spent so many years combing through the rock pools on Balmoral Beach with her, collecting shells and pretending that I was a mermaid in the caves, a dream that Mama always fully supported. One of my favourite memories is Mum yelling at us to take back and release the live starfish we had caught and put in a glass jar to keep as our pet. We were both equally disappointed. I think another happy memory that I have was driving up from the country through the big city tunnels and down the hill towards the ocean, to pull up outside of her big foyer and check to see if the money tree that she had grown any bills of pocket money, and take off our shoes before running across her white carpet to the toy cupboard with my sister. The smell of frangipanis will always bring back those memories for me. I'll never be able to eat green jelly or scones without remembering a beautiful time and place in my life, all surrounded by my grandmother. She made sure that my sister and I knew how loved we were, and that there was always a magical place for us in her world and her in ours. The closeness and love that she shared with our family, especially my mother Sue, was unparalleled. We'll all miss her very much and we'll love her forever. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Kaylin and I'm Unee's oldest granddaughter. My sister Brie and I have both been the two luckiest, most spoiled girls to have been given the fortune of having Unee, or Mama, as we fondly call her, as our grandmother. My sister Brie loved her, adored her, as did I. Mama was the very definition of the word generous, and for those that knew her, you know that she would give those that she loved quite literally anything. No request was too small, no amount of arrowroot biscuits was too many. She took the role of our grandmother seriously, and she saw fit to spoil and dote on us at every opportunity that she had. Visiting Mama for both Brie and I was always a treat for this reason, because we knew that the next few days were going to be filled with jelly and ice cream, and using her special fancy lipsticks when we were allowed. Mama would always sneak a cheeky $10 note into your pocket when we left, or a few butterscotch lollies for the trip home. My childhood is filled with memories of her house in Sydney, looking over Balmoral Beach, watching the Sydney ferries pass below, before raiding her cupboards for Mum's old stashed toys to play with, or sneakily climbing into her pantry to raid the Arnott's cookie tins for ones that actually held cookies and not sewing supplies. The two of us would sit below her beautiful glass cabinet, staring up into the treasures she collected throughout her life and on her adventures to foreign countries. Glass birds, eggs, delicately painted bone china teacups. No matter where Mama lived or went, an understated soft glamour went with her. Her home was always welcoming, enveloped in shades of pink and roses, and if she knew that you were coming to visit her, she'd prepare scones and tea and cakes for you. Mama was always beautifully dressed and took great pride in her appearance, and for this reason she earned herself the title of Queen Mama, because she was truly royalty to us, and she could give the Queen herself a run for her money when it came to elegance and poise. It was Mama who, when I was a child and I couldn't sleep, would pretend to apply makeup on me to get me to drift off, teaching me from the age of about 5 the importance of a good eye cream, SPF, and which order to apply powder, lipstick and eyeshadow, skills which I've appreciated more and more as I've grown, of course. Her constant support in my adult life was always a reassurance. Mama would cheer you on no matter what you were doing, such was her love for her family and her friends. And though she felt the distance when I lived in Canada, Mama always loved to hear our tales from where we had travelled. She saved every postcard and fridge magnet that we sent her. And when I returned home, she welcomed my partner Brandon into her family and home with open arms, as she would have done for anyone. I will always be left with a happy memory of sitting in her cottage at Mount Amard, sipping tea, before watching her head pop up at the window between the blinds, smiling to wave goodbye to us as we left each visit. I hope that today, after leaving here, we can all take a bit of Mama's qualities with us. The kindness and sweetness that makes this world a wonderful place were personified in her. And we're also lucky to have known her and experienced her warmth and her friendship. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Brianna. And thank you, Caitlin. Beautiful words. And I'm so glad you made reference to Queen there, because I saw the photos and I can see some resemblance as well. So next up, I would like to call upon Stephen Roots, and who will be followed by Mary to say some words as well.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Stephen and I'm a friend of the family. It took me a long time to call Mrs. Whiteman Unee, and I still feel a fraud when I did it the last time I saw her, because as has been said, it's quite apt that she spent most of her life near Balmoral, and that she ended her days in the Southern Highlands, because although Unee didn't fish for salmon and hunt Scottish deer, she reminded me of the Queen of England. And for that reason, and her refinement and her graciousness, she was always Mrs. Whiteman to me, until not so long ago. In 1981, Sue and I were playmates at school. We should have been teaching, but we were playing. And that's when I met Mrs. Whiteman and her husband. And I've been a friend of the family ever since. Her generosity, her kindness, and her graciousness were quite outstanding. It was like, unlike the Queen, who you go and have an audience with, it was like Unee gave you an audience. And she sat on her lounge chair without a crown, but you knew the crown was there, and she would ask you all the questions under the sun about you, what you've been doing, what you're feeling, and what you've done with your life, or the purpose of your visit. The last time I saw her was in February on the south coast, and as frail and as vulnerable as she was, with her infected leg and her walker frame, I had a piece of music that I was banging on about that I wanted Sue to listen to, that I had composed and put together. Well, Mrs. Whiteman, Unee, questioned me, why, Stephen? How, Stephen? How did you do that, Stephen? What's that program called, Stephen? And the same interest in you and what you've been doing with your life that she has always shown. She lived a long and happy life, and I'm so glad she got to meet you. And we should celebrate her life as she moves on. If there are angels up there, Mrs. Whiteman, I hope they're waiting with a crown.
Hello everyone, my name is Mary and I'm very proud to call myself a friend of Unee's. Grace. That is a word that Unee Whiteman is synonymous with. Grace, poise, style, presence, strength and kindness are qualities that immediately come to mind every time I think of Unee. I met Unee 25 years ago when her beloved son Ken introduced me to her with the words, "Mary, this is my mum, and I know that you will look after her." An easier task Ken could not have bestowed. We hit it off from the moment we met and developed a warm and very dear friendship, which continued from her move from Mossman to Bowral, where we enjoyed many frequent regular visits to hers and daughter Sue's homes for birthdays and Christmases, and culminated in her much anticipated 100th birthday last year in November. Unee's clarity of mind, inquisitiveness, her determination to keep up to date with everything that was going on around her and the world, went completely contrary to what most people would have expected from a nonagenarian who then became a centenarian. On numerous occasions, conversations with Unee and my husband Colin at her home would go on for hours and hours, during which she never flagged or tired and was always reluctant for us to go. Unee loved being with it. She kept her mind open to changes of the times and was never judgmental. Think of a rare and precious jewel, and that is what Unee meant to me. It was a privilege to have her in my life. I had never before met, and possibly I will never meet in the future, a person who was totally content with her life, never asking for any more, nor ever questioning why unpleasant events and losses occurred to her. Every time I walked away from a visit with Unee, I felt as if I had been counselled in appreciating how wonderful a life I had. The basis of Unee's happiness and contentment, in my opinion, drew from her very strong love, firstly, for her husband Paul, and then after his passing for her children Ken and Sue. Later, when the grandchildren Bree and Kaylin were born, they added immensely to her happiness and delight. And when Brandon came along, there was a lot of excitement. And my husband got moved to the side as being the man in her life at that time. This little group of family kept Unee immensely positive and happy. When Unee was living in Mossman and Ken living next door, she loved and adored her walks and views of Balmoral Beach and the security she felt living next to Ken. After the sadness of his passing and Unee's subsequent move to Bowral to be near Sue, the twinkle in Unee's eyes returned, and she enjoyed almost 10 years of living independently in her gorgeous, immaculate little apartment. Those happy years at Bowral were made exceptional because of Sue's love, but most importantly, her friendship. I was forever hearing from Unee about the wonderful drives and adventures that Sue had organised and they had shared together. The highest praise that Unee made in relation to Sue was of the wonderful and unfailing care that she had and gave for her mother. I am convinced that without Sue's staunch ability to advocate for her mother and her constant presence, Unee's life would not have been as happy and as long as it was. Sue was an amazing and wonderful daughter. Today we are here to celebrate the life of a woman of great exception and join in gratitude for how she touched and influenced our lives. I loved you very much, Unee.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Mary. We're now going to be watching a video tribute of Unee's life, but how can you put 100 years of one person's life into one slideshow? Well, you can't. But what we can do is Sue has gathered some photos together to try and represent 100 years. And hopefully you'll be able to remember Unee as the person that meant so much to you in your own very, very special way. Now I'd like everybody to remember the last time that you may have spoken to Unee, be that in person, phone call, letter, email, maybe even an SMS, who knows. But what I want you to try and do is remember what was the last thing that you did speak about with Unee. What was the topic that you were talking about? I want you to hang on to that conversation. And it is now time to reflect on Unee's life and the life that you had with her and what it meant to you. And as we reflect, we'll be asking 6 people at a time to come up, where the 2 girls will be able to hand you a ribbon, to be able to tie it onto the handle of the casket, have a moment, and then take your seat again, and then we'll keep inviting people up. If you don't feel comfortable coming to the front, that's okay. You may wish to hang on to the ribbon as well, or to be able to place it a little bit later on. And of course, we'll be playing some lovely music as we reflect as well.
Oh, the summertime is coming, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to black wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? I will build my love a tower by yon pure crystal fountain, and around it I will place all the flowers of the mountain. Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to black wild mountain thyme, all around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? If my true love he were gone, I would surely find another where the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will ye go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to black wild mountain thyme.
In a moment, we'll be officially farewelling Unee. And as we say farewell to Unee, let us give thanks for her life, and may any regrets that we have be turned into gratitude for the time that you've shared with her over the past 100 years. Unee, this is not a goodbye, but a thank you. Thank you for touching our lives and giving us joy with everything that you gave us. Thank you for your memories that we will cherish forever. Thank you for the good times and for all of your hard work. Thank you for your love and for your laughs. But most of all, thank you, Unee, for being you. And you leave this world a richer place than you found it. Now, in a moment, I will be asking for everybody to make their way outside in a second, and I will ask for the pallbearers to remain behind. And when you make your way outside, we're going to form a guard of honour. And you can clap, you can cheer, or you can just be present. But if I could all ask you all to be upstanding, if you're able to. Unee, we are grateful for the time that we've been privileged to share with you, and we now leave you in peace. And with respect, we bid you farewell. And thinking of you, we will leave this place in quietness of spirit and live in harmony one with the other. And so with heavy hearts, may we farewell you, Unee. And may you continue to give as much as you've done in this life as in your next life.